Hi, Assalamualaikum, and a very good day to everyone. Today we shall continue with our next topic in FST 3003, Introduction to Food Science, which is a crucial and vital part of this topic or this course, which is the processing techniques, which involve in the extending shelf life and also the to ensure the food safety, the food that we produce. Most of the foods that has to go through the food processing. Okay, so in this topic, we shall see what are the difference of the food processing techniques that is being used in food and how they are being used in food industries, especially. Okay. From this topic of food processing, you will be able to learn, you'll be able to understand the effect of processing on food quality and how the food will change in terms of its quality after the effect of each processing that is being used. Okay. And further, you'll be able to understand the importance of how the aroma, the shape, the taste, and texture on the food acceptance. So the effect on of food processing, okay? As we know that there are various types of processing, and each processing will change the characteristic of the products. So when we say characteristics of the products, it means that it will change in terms of the physical characteristics and also chemical characteristics most of the time. And when we say physical, it involves the textural, for example, the color. When we talk about the chemical, we will see what are the effects in terms of the chemical composition, the enzymes, whether they are inactivated or deactivated. And what is the most important thing is the safety of the product. Most of the processing that is being used in food, the main reason is to make sure that the food is safe to be consumed and also to make sure that the food is of quality of food that is being provided by the food manufacturers. Some of the food processing has a positive effect. However, some also has deteriorative effect. This is because of most of food processing that is being used in industry now are using thermal. When we say heat treatment or thermal treatment, so we know that when we use high temperature, it will definitely affect some of the nutrients that is in the food. So they will have to see of balance how much of the nutrient can be sustained. So they will have an after effect of the processing, whether we want to enrich the nutrient or we want to add the nutrient later. Okay, and select processing techniques are selected based on the desired end product. Okay, whether we want to focus on quality and safety, but mostly we will focus on both. And the first one will be on the safety, and then the quality comes in. Okay, and also the taste versus safety. Okay, and again, we want to be able to produce the food that is being safe to customer, and how much we can compromise the taste and the palatability of the food that is being produced. Okay, there are many different types of processing techniques. These are the examples of most of the processing techniques is being used in food, which is mixing. Okay, so if, for example, some of the ingredients that you add to the food, you have to homogenize it and mix them well. Okay, curing is one of the food processing that is being used for many years ago. Okay, this is also to make sure that the product are safe. Salting, okay, salting is the process of adding salt to the food in making sure that the food is also safe and also of quality. Okay, and smoking is using the smoke. This is in Malay we call it salai, right? So if we use like meat, for example, they will have the effect of smoking is they will have this smoking flavor. We also have like smoked salmon, for example, that is also famous in salad that is being used. Okay. One of the mostly widely used processing techniques are heating. Heating, that means you have to see what type of heating techniques and also parameters that is being used. Of course, in different industry, they will use different parameters. Okay, and then you have to see what are the parameters specifically that is being used for heating. Okay, other than that, the most easiest one that we normally use at home, for example, for fresh meat and perishable foods like seafoods, we normally just freeze it at 0 degrees or less than 0 degrees. Okay. However, freezing has detrimental effects. Although it can preserve foods for quite a long time, because the bacteria or microorganisms that is it will not grow at frozen temperature except for certain very rare types of microorganisms. Okay. So you can keep it for a long time. However, if we freeze or deep freeze, and then crystal formation will happen, will occur, and it will also affect the quality of the foods that are being frozen. Okay, especially when we talk about fruits and vegetables. Filling can be cold filling and also hot filling. This one applies more on the liquid products, okay, that is being treated first before it is being filled in bottle, for example. Okay, this one used a lot in paste or liquid products like sauces, juices, and whatnot. Okay. Okay, the first one is mixing. Okay, mixing. Like I've mentioned before, it is a general term that includes stirring, beating, blending, binding, creaming, whipping, and also folding. So many processes in food use some or all the terms that is mentioned today. Okay, and what are the effects of mixing? Okay, so when we mix the food ingredients, of course, they have an effects to the ingredients itself. Okay, one is particle size is being reduced. Okay, and the other one is to destroy the cell wall. Okay, when the cell wall are being destroyed, they release the internal components and also vice versa. Okay, for example, some of the ingredients maybe they will not mix well. Okay, so when we mix them well using all these creaming, whipping, folding, and all the mixing terms, okay, they will produce some sort of emulsion, which is a sequence of mixing. Okay, so mixing also produce homogeneity. Homogeneity meaning that all the ingredients that being used in the product will be mixed very well. Okay, and the surface and the mixing rate will be the same. Okay, and mixing also cause interaction between ingredients, which we call adhesion. Okay, so this is very important in mixing. So these are the examples of instruments or processing instruments that is being used in mixing. Okay, that are mostly being used in mixing. But this is like, if you see, this is a small scale or the one that we use at home. But if we're talking about big industries, you will see that they will use a very big mixer, right? Okay, then we go to curing. Okay, so what is curing? Curing can include salting and also smoking. Okay, curing has been used since Egyptian times. That means when we go back into the time, we know that older generations, they don't have instruments like us, they don't have freezers. So most of the food and also liquid that they use for food source has to be cured or has to be kept at a longer time. So this is one of the technique that is being used by older generations. So they have to cure the product by using salting and also smoking. This is a very traditional techniques. Okay. According to FAO in 2010, the world population of cured fish products remained unchanged and was on an average of 12 million tons per annum between 2001 and 2010. So you see that these curing products has a high market value in industries and also consumer products. Okay, salting. When we talk about salting meaning that we add salt to the product. Okay? In Malaysia, this is one of the most favorable or one of the most important industry, right? Important industry, and most of Malaysian eat a lot of salted products, especially like salted seafood or salted fish from the market. Okay, so effect of salting. What happen if we add salt to the product? Okay, one is the product will have low water activity. I think you have learned this in the first few classes where we talk about the importance of water and water interactions in food. When we say water activity, what does it mean? Okay, it is the partial pressure of the water, okay, in the food ingredients. So this is like free water versus bound water. Okay, so when we have lower activity, what is the positive effect of lower activity? That means there is less free water to be available for the microbial to interact. So a product, when we add solute like salts or sugar, okay, like solute, so it will lower the water activity, and then by having less free water in the food, then less water available to be able to react with microbial. So that means if you have a lower activity product, the microbial growth will be inhibited or will be slowed. Okay, I think you have to go back to the water slides and see what are the value of the water activity that totally or slow down the water activity. So when you add this to the product, you have to check what is the value of the water activity of the product. Okay, and then you will see bacteria will not grow at something water activity of the food that is lower than 0.9, for example. Okay, and then when we add salts, it will also induce chemical reaction where protein will be solubilized. Okay, because protein has positive and negative action. Protein are made up of amino acids, and these amino acids has their pKa value, and also that will interact with the different ionic strength. So when you add salt, so it will increase the ionic strength of the solute, and then protein will become more solubilized. Okay, and then it will also increase the muscle concentration. Okay, muscle concentration. Other than that, it will also change the texture, the texture of the product. Okay, effect of salting. Like I've mentioned, the increase in salt concentration in the protein muscle results in lipid degradation. Okay, when we talk about lipid degradation, there will be lipid hydrolysis or lipid oxidation. So the muscle lipid will degrade as the higher content of the salt. Okay, and also the increase in salt content of the fish muscle during salting will result in conformational changes of protein. Okay, you have to go back to your slides on protein. There are different conformation of protein from primary to tertiary to quaternary, and you have to see what happens if you add the salts to the protein. This is like effect of external effect that is being controlled to denature the protein, or some of the protein will also aggregate. Most of the time when we do, like for example in the lab, when we add the protein to the when we add salts to the protein, okay, the protein mostly aggregate. They will aggregate and they will precipitate. Okay, quality deterioration such as yellowish, brownish are also effect of salting. Okay, when we add salt to the food products, okay, quality deterioration will happen, where you can actually see there are changes in the color. For example, it become yellowish, it become brownish, and also discoloration of the flesh surface. Okay, so when we say if you want to cure a product, that means curing or through salting, we have to compromise that the product will not look as fresh as the original product. Okay, but then you have to you will be able to keep it at room temperature, or maybe at very low in the fridge at a longer time. Okay. Like I mentioned earlier, so this protein denaturation or protein aggregation will be accompanied by changes in protein solubility. It depends on which type of protein and amino acids that you're being added. So if you add salts in the protein or in the food, most of the time protein will have higher solubility. Okay, so when protein have high solubility, you will also change the functionality. Okay, when we consume the fish or the any food product that has a high protein, for example, then it will also affect the digestibility. That one depends on the nutrient content in the food product, and also how your body will digest the protein. So by addition of salt, it will also affect the digestibility. Okay. Plus, it will also affect the texture and nutritional quality. Okay, of course, nutritional quality is very thing that you have to control, compromise. For example, if we want to make sure that our food product will last a bit longer, then you have to compromise on the nutritional quality. Else, you have to find another way to maintain or increase the nutritional quality by using a different techniques of processing. Okay, I will stop here, then I will continue for the next slide.